about it.
Yeah.
Oh, well. He was so excited because Kelly Collins.
Me too. Like,
She passed her break. So,
if you help them, they come back from you anyway. But I don't know. I mean, I have a sister.
To the Tipton Community School Board of Trustees work session. And we have a speaker at Randy Carlisle, and I don't see him yet. So we will skip past that. And someone, Andrea, is going to talk to us about the residential TIF district.
So I sit on the city RDC as a representative for the school board. And the mayor is proposing a residential TIF, which we've heard about. Originally it was on about 130 acres. And since then he's added some properties to that. Most of those are in Buttonwood. Right now he has a list of 29 properties that I sent you all. About 24 are in Buttonwood. Some have houses on them now that were built this year, which he can retroactively TIF back to January 1 of the year that he wants to start the TIF. So that's why some of these, if you would look them up, if they have a house on them, that's why he can do that. I did some research. I asked some different notes here, and I also sent you some numbers too that I'll talk about in a minute. Rush County Schools decided to go forward with the residential TIF. So I spoke to their board president and their former superintendent, also their economic development director. So they decided that if they received 5 to 6 students, that was enough for them to kind of make up the difference in what they were losing in property tax. This one was a little different because it was the city owned 50 acres. It was undeveloped. So the city was the developer in this case. And they were building, one, they needed some workforce housing. They were $150,000 to $200,000 homes. They also had some apartments in that as well. So some of the questions they asked, how many kids do you need to offset the cost of the TIF? You know, their economic development director, John, his name's John, he said, they did make sure not to incentivize things that are already happening. So, you know, if you don't need the TIF, they didn't want to do that. Do a TIF someplace you know development isn't going to happen without it. They did theirs for 25 years. I think it was going to end up being 60 houses. And 30 to 40 of those were workforce type housing. I spoke to the former superintendent. His name was Matt. Again, he just said they needed attendance or needed housing. Their enrollment had been dropping steadily every year. Questions to ask, you know, how's it going to help us? You know, he still thinks they did the right thing, but they're not sure because they just did it in 2019. So they just started building. They said they have 2 houses built. So it's hard to, you know, really say what's happened there. I talked to, go down here. I talked to, her name is Tamara Ogle, and she's the regional community development educator at Purdue. And she just wanted me to be aware, you know, that base assessed value is never going to change. We're always going to continue to get that. You're just not going to see the growth after a house is put on that property. Questions to ask ourselves is, can we make it work in our budget, and will it bring families to the school? In her opinion, if development would happen without TIF, then we should not support it, as we'd be losing future tax dollars. You know, she said right now we're naturally seeing increased values in property, but you know, that's might not always be the case. Let's see. Delphi Schools also recently did this, and so I spoke with their board president, Kirk, and it took them 8 months to come to an agreement with the city, and they did. They just started that. It would be 2 areas that they TIF'd, which would be about 180 homes. So there were 2 parcels. The one parcel ended up getting sold, and he said that houses would not be developed on that. So I'm guessing a farmer bought it to farm. so they're down to just the one part. But he said, you know, he'd be happy if we wanted to meet with him. He would come down and talk to us about the whole process, because again, it took them 8 months to kind of get through this whole thing. And I know the mayor wants that to happen, you know, more quickly, but we don't have to do a 20 to 25 year. He said, we're basically in control, because without our approval, it won't happen. So if we think that there's a place that it would work and it would benefit the community and the school and bring kids in, then, you know, we could say, we just want to do a 7-year TIF. We want to do a 10-year, or we want to collect 15% of the tax that would come in. So he just said there's a lot of things that, you know, he could talk to us about that they've already been through. He also said if you would approve, you know, this list, to make sure that, you know, whatever we write, that we're not just saying that we're okay with residential TIF in general. It's just, we're fine with these properties, and that's it. I think they're having some trouble now. They're trying to bring in more properties on this that they weren't comfortable with. So that's, you know, that's kind of who I talked to. I talked, so this list, a lot of these houses are in Buttonwood, like I mentioned. So I talked to the owner of Buttonwood, those properties, and he said he has all but 13 of the lots sold. He's not interested in a TIF, although he doesn't really have a say. The mayor can do that without his permission. All the infrastructure is complete in phase 1, and the infrastructure for phase 2 runs right up to the property line, so it's easily accessible. The average home in Buttonwood right now for 2022 is $380,000 to $400,000, what they're building it for. He says that he thinks the lots will sell without a TIF. They are selling. And he said it's a little heavy towards the retired population. So not to say that we wouldn't get kids, but, and you know, in 10 years or 20 years, you know, it could be sold 3 times, and you could. But Buttonwood in general is a little towards the retired side. So I talked to him, and then I just sent you, I don't know if it came through, but I just did some numbers based on this. So Buttonwood, you see lot 24. So that is, right now that's not developed. Last year we received $12 in taxes, and, or excuse me, 2021 and 22 was $24. The next lot there is lot 26, $4.66, $4.84. So that's what an undeveloped lot, and it's hard to see the other lots because this one's actually sold, but someone's using it as just their yard. The other lots are still owned by Mr. Tragesser, who owns them, so he pays in, you know, them all together. But so you can see what an undeveloped lot, that's what we would be getting. So I went, you know, I looked at some people who live in Buttonwood, and those property taxes from year to year, so are, you know, anywhere from $800 to $1,300 basically that we receive for houses that are built. So you can see the difference. If say lot 26 sold, we would and it was tipped, we would still, I believe, continue to get that $4.84. I believe the base can still go up a little. Am I correct in saying that?
I think it can go up
kind of like it does
like
now.
5%.
Not
or
much.
something. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
But again, we would just be getting that small amount that
Mhm.
that it says there, that 484 roughly, compared to we could be getting $1,300 roughly, you know, 900, 1,300. So, you know, they're not taking money away from us that we had, but it's money that we could be capturing, I guess. So that's just kind of, you can just kind of see the numbers there based on what a vacant lot would be, and then what it would be when it's developed based on who's living there now. In terms of the 138 acres, I just did some figuring. I know we've already discussed this, but 138 acres, last year we received $3,666 in tax revenue. If we would happen to do, let's just say in 25 years, it's not developed, we would receive 100,000. Well, I said we'd call it 4,000 to make it easy. $100,000 over 25 years. If that was developed, and we take similar homes like Buttonwood, which kind of sound like the acreage is very similar, So I took 330 homes and I just picked an easy number of $1,000. $330,000 per year that we would receive if that was developed like Arbor Homes was projecting. And then you take 330 homes, $330,000 times the 25 years is $8.25 million over 25 years. So again, if we didn't have a TIF, we could possibly be receiving $8.25 million. If we did, we would be stuck at that $100,000 over 25 years. So it is a big difference. And I haven't, I'd be happy to see, how many students, what that money would bring in if we did get, say, 150 students. When I talked to Matt Vance, he was from Rush County previously, but he said you used to be able to count on 1.5 kids per home builds, and he said now it's about 0.5. So we could run those numbers, but I mean that one was a big difference when you looked at that. He also was wanting to develop, or excuse me, create a TIF on some commercial and commercial properties. And while we can't vote on that, it still would affect us. And I guess just to kind of, he has one on there that's Botcher. And right now we receive $133 and it sits on 6.1 acres. Or excuse me, sorry. 6.1 acres, Botcher, we receive $11,000 a year. Botcher also owns the property, I think it's right behind it, and it's 8.3 acres. And we get $133 in that, it's undeveloped. But you can just see when something is developed on there, the difference, a couple $100 versus $11,000 a year. And again, we don't have a say on that, but when they are proposing these commercial properties, that does affect us as well. So when you kind of put those together, it could be a lot, but I've tried to do a lot of research and it's kind of confusing, and we do need housing, and for me personally, I would not be okay with the 130 acres to do that. That's just too much, I think. And I personally think Buttonwood is developing on its own. And if it wasn't, I mean, the property owner is very confident because I do not need to build these homes. So again, that's kind of, it's hard for me to want to do that when it's already being developed. There's a few more properties, Southwood Villas, which are just north of the school here. There's just a couple of those. I did not reach out to that owner. But I think I had that one. I think there was one house that was already built, and I needed to ask the mayor because I'm not sure why that one's in there, because a lot of the homes that were sold, like in Buttonwood, that were built this year, when you look up their property taxes, it says 0 because they were just built. This one shows property tax for 21 and 22, so I'm wondering if that one wasn't supposed to be in there. But it was around $600 that we received from them. So a little bit of a price difference for those, but I am open to, if it could work somewhere that we can help the community and help the school, and it's a smaller number. I'm open to learning more about that and meeting with someone that can kind of give us some more numbers on how much money we'd be getting, how many students we would need to kind of make up for that difference. 20 to 25 years is a long time. And again, we could always ask for 15%, and we could always do 10 years. So, we do have the power to negotiate and kind of do what's best for the school. But for me personally, after doing some research, I don't know if these properties are the right properties. But I just wanted to, I tried to do a lot of research, so I hope it wasn't confusing. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask me. I can try to help. But
First, I would like to thank you for
Yes.
spending the time.
Yeah.
Yes,
Have you
that's
slept
amazing.
since the
Thank
last board meeting?
you. Yeah.
right.
So the TIF that he's proposing now is still including the acreage west of town?
It is.
Okay.
Yep, that's number 1 on this list.
One of our questions was, what is he planning to build with that money? And that was one of our big questions.
So I asked him what was, and actually with Delphi, in their resolution that they passed, every year, the city had to give them where, where all those funds were going. Kind of like that capital improvement plan that they would be. So I did ask him, I don't feel like the money would be put back into Buttonwood or to those properties, but he said a lot for roads and things, to improve the quality of life here. And he said, too, depending on when this happens, it would be up to the next administration as well. He wouldn't have as much say in it because he may not be here. So it's kind of all up in the air. But I did get the feeling that it was going to be put back into the properties that were being tipped.
It wasn't like an infrastructure kind of thing, like,
That's not the way I asked, and that's not the way I felt.
I have two things. First of all, you might have spoken on this, but in your email it says we don't have the right to vote on commercial. Can you explain that to me? What does that mean? I mean, just
So these residential properties that he's
Yeah.
wanting to tip, he
Yeah.
has to have our approval. But the commercial properties,
we don't.
we
Okay.
he can do that without our permission.
Just like running a quick number here. If it's 130 acres, let's just say, and we're talking maybe a half acre per home, which is pretty big for, a homes like that. Over 25 years staying at the same place. I mean, that's at a half, you said, I think 0.5, right? 0.5 students per home.
Mhm.
I mean, that's approximately 24 million over 25 years. For how much the school would receive, and that's just a number I threw out there. You said you could calculate, but I'm just saying, I'm not for or against it. I just ran the number quick to say over 25 years if it's that rate.
Oh, what the state would provide? I got you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yep. So, I mean, again, if those properties are already developing on their own, to have both the property tax and the state tax is most beneficial for us.
Well, like I said, if someone could come in and kind of explain it more and run those numbers and say, this actually would be in our favor, then, I'm definitely open to it.
Yeah.
I think 130 acres, obviously, it doesn't happen.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
Sold, we don't know how many, they don't know what it's going to say how many.
Exactly. I think both
Yeah.
would be great, right? If we
Right,
didn't have to.
we knew it was gonna sell and. Kids on each one, that would be great.
Yeah, it would be. I agree.
I talked to a superintendent that actually was my high school superintendent. He moved to Southern Indiana, and he actually was proposed to do a residential tip. And he said it made sense for them because the property was considered depressed property. What I'm hearing so far, there's no depressed property really in this. And he struggled to give me a positive outcome for the school corporation. It really wasn't something that was desperate. I still come back to the fact that we might have kids move in, but that's no guarantee they're going to come to the school. It's no guarantee there's just no guarantees. We're playing with a lot of unknowns. I don't think we're in the position to say no thank you to. But I do see the other side. Additional students.
Any other questions for Andrea?
What's the next step?
He'll probably ask me what the board wants to do. As far as that, I think he's still kind of pushing for that same time. I would assume he wants it done before December.
I think before we even consider it, we should maybe have the guy from Delphi come and talk to us at some point. Do that.
Yeah, he said he'd be more than happy to drive down, just tell you the whole process and everything. So. And put in contact with him.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Have anything else regarding the TIF? All right, next on the work session agenda is the new phone system.
Okay. Stephen, I think, took off. So, but I will do the talking on the new phone system. We are replacing the phone system. Our current phone system Well, it really came from, honestly, a call from Amber when she was talking to, she had called to get our voicemails in our office, and they talked about old people like the assistant superintendent and all these other people. And so I talked to Stephen about that, and we cannot update the system that we have. So we can't update any kind of voicemail or anything like that. And the other side of it is, when phones break, they're done. We can't replace the phones that we have. So we've been talking about this for probably the last 18 months. So we decided we would just go ahead and do it. There's a cost for the hardware. That's a one-time fee of around $20,000, and then there is a little bit of an increase of about $400 a month in our phone service. So it does have a little bit of a cost with it, but we actually get a system that will be a whole lot better. So we are currently in the process of porting the current phone numbers, and that has ended up being a very tedious process. So you'll still be able to use the same phone numbers that we've always been able to use. The only difference will be everybody's extension will be different. So we will, once we get all those extensions assigned and everything, then we will forward those out. And instead of having like a 3-digit extension, there'll now be a 4-digit extension, and it'll be contingent upon which building you're in. So it'll start with 1 in the high school, 2 in the middle school, and 3 in the elementary. So again, it's something that probably should have been done a while ago, and I think we'll actually be money ahead, considering every time we have to do any kind of work on the system, there's one person in the state of Indiana that does the work, and he pretty much can name his price. So I think we'll be better in the long run and probably save money in the long run with this new system. So you had a couple of questions, and hopefully I can answer those. So,
Well, one of the questions was, since this new system is voice over IP,
Mhm.
do we have the bandwidth to cover that?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We last year we doubled our bandwidth with our new services, and so we have plenty of bandwidth to support that. And the nice thing about this too is we can expand this system at any time. It's not going to cost us anything more besides just the purchase of the phone. So we can always expand.
Okay, that was one of my questions, and the next one is, I mean, the other part of that is, you already answered it, goes along with that answer, are we gonna have to do it in the future, but in the foreseeable future, but
Right.
it doesn't sound like it. And the other thing was, how's the voice over IP working so far?
Well, it is working actually, Bianca. I mean, it does work internally, so we can call each other internally, but we just can't do anything outside. But internally it works out great. We had training last week, just about basically that separate voicemail and some of the features, and we will also push out some other training to teachers as we move on. But this system is going to be a lot better. Should be able to have direct communication with teachers, and put in the the extension and get the right person. So that's exciting. So anyway, but it's again, it's just going to be a better system.
When patrons call now, do they get the new system, or
No.
it's still the
It's still the
outdated
old system, because they're now giving us the new number, or our old numbers will be ported into the new system on the 18th
of August?
of August. So, and that's just been a delay, one delay after the next. So,
Is that something through TDS or?
yes.
Okay. Through that.
What was our monthly?
I at one point I shared that with you guys, and I'll look it up. I want to say it was like 1,600. No, I
Yeah,
think it's
the
going to be around
400 on
21. Yeah, yeah. But I'll find that out for sure. But I think that was the cost. We did when we priced it a year ago. The cost of the service did not go up; it was the same. But the cost of the hardware went up a little bit, like everything else.
Anybody have any other questions regarding the phone system? Okay. Next item is updates on the construction projects.
Yeah, I got a really good phone call this afternoon. We're supposed to do the walkthrough on the football field tomorrow at 1, and just kind of go through and make sure everything is how we want it to look. And so I think that that's very encouraging. It's nice to have at least one thing done. Seems like a lot of things are just kind of floating, not quite done yet. Also going to close down the road out here where near the welding lab and ag wing, and they're going to put down a rough coat of asphalt. Since obviously our parking lot is not going to be done, there will be a rough coat of asphalt there, so we will not have the dips and the puddles and everything else like we had last spring. So we're hoping that that'll be at least a little bit better than what it was last year. All of the schools have communicated about continuing the same parking procedures that we had in place last spring, and what I've heard from R.L. Turner is once the DNR gives us a thumbs up, and they're supposed to do that sometime this week, that they will be able to get moving and try to get things going as quickly as possible for that parking lot. So we're focusing on the parking lot right now because there's really no way we can get the tennis courts ready by any kind of a season. So we just are going to try to get the parking lot moving forward as quickly as possible. There still will be work on the tennis courts, but the parking lot is really the focus. So, and if you've had a chance, obviously if you look across the hall, everything is pretty much demoed in the media centers and the cafeteria here in the elementary. And there have been one big, huge, tremendous gut of the science rooms in the high school. So you can actually see from one end all the way down to the other end. And so they've already started to install the HVAC, part of the ventilation for the HVAC, and so things are moving forward as far as after demo and moving on to the construction phase. So I really think that the inside projects are going well, and I feel like that's moving forward extremely well. Do you guys have any questions or anything that you've been asked and don't know? Okay.
First is once the parking lot gets the go-ahead, the clear from DNR, is there a time frame for how long they think that it will take them?
R.L. Turner, you mean to get it completed?
Yeah.
I haven't really got into that
Okay.
because there are some variables there
Okay.
with E&B paving and some different companies. I know that the excavation company is already here because they're still doing some work for us here in the back. So I imagine that they would probably be able to get going on that pretty quickly. But I don't know about the whole paving side. So, yeah.
And then the second one, is the greenhouse still on track to be finished by Labor Day, save the gap?
Yes, yes. The gas install, honestly, it's the owner's responsibility to set that up, and we've had that set up for a period of time, but they are just so far out with getting people connected. So we're just kind of waiting on them to be able to do that connection. According to our meeting as of last week, we are still on schedule for the end of this month to have it ready to go. Absent the heat, which hopefully we won't need in August, but you never know. So. Anything else? We are going to do a big reveal for the football field, so I will let you guys know when that's going to be. We're going to go out with our drone and take all kinds of cool pictures. So probably have some music. That's what our good friend Miss Bianca does for us. Makes that stuff pretty cool. So, but we will do that, and then R.L. Turner is planning to do some of those things as well. So they will be participating in that. And so I feel like it's been a big hurry up and wait summer. So hopefully the fall will be a time that we start seeing some completed projects. So, hey, Randy Carlisle, would you like to come up and talk about the great work you're doing as the bus driver trainer? Randy, if you aren't aware, is our bus driver trainer, and he is just doing a tremendous job. And we've got a lot of people in training right now, which I think is incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
And I don't know of any district that has as many bus drivers
Yeah.
in training that we do right
I
now.
don't either.
So it's pretty darn cool.
It
So-
is. Mr. Clark, can I mention that email you sent to me around 2 o'clock? Is that okay to bring that up? Okay.
On the spot.
Well,
That's right.
we started back in, I guess, around February when this was all introduced, and for me, it's just wrapping my head around training adults, which has been pretty cool. Being a pastor, of course, I train adults all the time anyway. So wrapping that around driving world's been pretty neat, and we've got, I believe right now we've got 9 trainees, and then we also have basically partnered up with Tipton Municipal Utilities. They're going to come on board as well to get some of their guys cleaned as Class B to also sub and do ECAs for us as well. So we got a pretty good thing going on with trainees. We got a good system. The testing site in Kokomo, just to kind of give you an idea, it's phenomenal. I mean, for all the nightmares you hear about testing facilities and failing, that place in Kokomo, the dudes is, I say he's as chilled out as I am. I can get like everybody, your feathers can be ruffled, I'm sure, but this dude is cool as a cucumber. You could go out there and not understand what you're doing, or really just, clam up because of nerves, and he'll say, well, hold on, weren't you supposed to look at something here? And like, he really calms your nerves in the test process. So he's not out there to fail you to make an extra buck, and he's thrilled to death that basically I know we don't do a handshake, but they said, hey, I'm going to use you for a testing site because you closed. I don't want to drive to Indy if I don't have to. Secondly, he has told me that he was willing to come out here to our school, and since he knows the system so well, he'd paying us a course on our property for us to train on. And so we got adequate room at the bus barn. I've already talked to Eric and Mr. Clark. They're on board with it. So that's a good opportunity for us to be training our drivers with better paint job, not just to, throw it out there, use some marbles and hope it works. We had another opportunity that's kind of come our way. I'm not sure how to feel about it yet, but basically, do I have a little bit of time?
Yeah.
Okay. In the state of Alabama, the school systems were in charge of certifying their drivers, not third-party sites. And I know every state's different. There's a pretty cool email that just came out by Mike LaRucco about the schools becoming a host testing site for the skills test, which would be great. So that means the Department of Education handles the three-day class, and then also drivers would come into here and test on the skills test here. So it's an opportunity, and they're looking for places in central Indiana to be kind of some test pilot places. And what my thoughts kind of ran wild initially, that being that I understand that world from Alabama, that's how we, so we did it back home. It would be an easy transition if that's something we decided to do here, because we'd have the site already spray painted. So that's to code and it's already there. So, but the way it works is that since I'm an ELDT trainer, I just couldn't test anybody I train. So meaning that if they tested in-house, we'd take them to Kokomo still, but anybody around here could come through our testing facility. And I don't know if it could generate income for the school or not to charge them to test here, just like they do anywhere else. If we charge $200 to come test in a school-friendly setting, it may lure some folks in. So I don't know how to feel one way or the other. I just feel like it was a pretty cool opportunity that we could possibly do something with, as a school, being kind of a thumb. You know, Tipton's in the middle of nowhere. I remember the first time I came here, the GPS said take the exit, like, which, because it didn't register Tipton. Now, of course, we says take the Tipton exit 31, that kind of thing. But anyway, so we're in the middle of nowhere, and it'd be a neat opportunity that if we could do that to even host drivers. And first of all, I was thinking for the hospitality, but secondly, the maybe the unseen benefit would be camaraderie between other school systems, and then generate a little bit of revenue. I mean, every penny counts, I believe, in these times anyway. Things are going well as far as I know with bus training. We got one guy that's Bill Caldwell. He's about 2 weeks out and ready to go take his road test and be fine. We got Kelly. Kelly's finally finished, so she's got her air brake endorsement, so that's good. So she was thrilled to death. And we got 3 other drivers right now that have passed all their tests, that's simply waiting on their drug test to come cleared, and that way we can start training them on site as well. So we got, as far as drivers go, we've got plenty, and I've got plenty to do with them. So I train them at my availability in there, so when that crosses, it works out well. So if y'all got questions for me, or if I missed something, just holler. Anybody?
For your work.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
hey, thank y'all for paying me for it. So thank you. So it's been a nice little pocket change. So anything else? I'm looking to see if I got anything. The place in Kokomo gave me their testing sheet and their testing skills inspection too, which was unheard of. So they said, how am I help y'all out? So anyway, anything?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
You're
absolutely,
doing
yep,
an awesome
absolutely,
job.
yep,
We
thank y'all.
appreciate what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
y'all.
Thank you.
It's because of Mr. Clark.
That's all right.
All right, next item on the agenda is advisory committees. Anybody have a report for those, or? We have a facilities and technology meeting coming up next week. Personnel meets September the 19th, and student achievement meets on October the 18th. Next item is a review the board agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? Any questions, comments? Things we want to move around? All right, the next thing on the agenda is comments from the community, and I think Ryan said we had one person that wanted to talk at this one, or?
Okay, Laura? Oh, okay. Okay, well, you emailed me. He, no, come on up. Yeah. He used our system, and so part of it.
That's efficient. So is it 3 minutes still?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Rob Cochran, thank you all for your continued support. Really glad to hear about the TIF and the research. I'm here to ask, to lean in a little further on the TIF. Unashamedly, I'm a fan of the TIF, not in its present form. 300 houses is too much, 100 and some odd acres is too much. But I will say I am a fan of getting the TIF, and the reason is Logansport, Carroll County, Warsaw, Elwood, all these schools right around us have benefited from a TIF, and I think the reason for that is we can talk to school boards, and I think that's an excellent thing. What I would hope that you would do is also talk to a few builders and ask them why this TIF is so important to them. Before I moved here, I was in Westfield. My parents and my brothers were in commercial home or residential home construction, custom homes, Westfield, Carmel, Zionsville, that area, Whitestown, all that. The TIF is very important to the builders in today's day and age, and we as a school board need to, and a community need to understand why it's important to them. So if we do waive them off, that we understand the implications of that if we want to go at it alone. So I would recommend that we look at some builders and talk to them and ask those questions. Secondly, I live on Market Road, so I'm out by the industrial complex. And I think if you go through my backyard and you talk to Mid-States, or you talk to, is it Booker? Is that right? Botcher? okay, not German, but Botcher, and you talk to a few of those people, what you'll learn is we have a tremendous amount of people in our community that drive 20 minutes in here and go to work, spend their 8 hours here and get in their car and drive home because there's no housing. And if we think 0.5 is an acceptable child per, I think there's more than that here. If we would talk to people about why they're driving to Kokomo, why they're driving back to Cicero or whatever it is, it's because they can't live here presently. So I think our numbers may be low, and I would just ask you to talk to builders, talk to current people in the larger employers in the county, and see if there is really an appetite for that type of building, and the TIF may make more sense to you at that point. Again, I'm a fan of it, not in its present form. I appreciate people swinging for fences, but sometimes we just need a base hit. And so I'm a fan of the base hit. So that's all I had for my time. I think, yes, that's it. So
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Rob.
Yep.
All right, that's the last thing on the work session agenda. So we will adjourn the work session and start the regular school board meeting at 6:30. thank you all. Next item is comments from the community, and we had one person, is that correct? Sign up? Yeah. And Rob, do you want to speak again, or? Okay. Okay. Okay, all right. I just wanted to give you the opportunity. All right, next is consent agenda and the approval of such, and that would include the work session from July the 18th, regular session minutes from July the 18th as well, approval of claims for July the 22nd, approval of claims for August 5th, accounts payable claims for August of 2022, August personnel report, and I will read that personnel report after we have approval, and also I will read the donations for the Tipton Teacher Summer Academy. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda items and a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. The personnel report for August is certified staff, retirement of Debbie Lamb, third grade teacher from Tipton Elementary School, resignation of Tyler Wyrick, science teacher, Tipton High School, Shayla Hall, special education coordinator for the corporation, Michelle Porter, music teacher for Tipton Elementary School, a reassignment of duties for Rick Stilson, transfer from Tipton High School principal to special education coordinator, and Craig Leach, transfer from Tipton High School assistant principal to Tipton High School principal. Recommendation, Cliff Hackman, guidance counselor, Tipton Middle School, Shelley Bittner, third grade teacher, Tipton Elementary School, Nicole Flora, kindergarten teacher, Tipton Elementary School, Dee Jackson, special education teacher, Tipton High School, Thomas Lyday, assistant principal, Tipton High School, Jeff Quackenbush, science teacher, Tipton High School, and medical leave extension for Marianne Standiford, a second grade teacher at Tipton Elementary School. Classified staff, resignation Heather Heldstar, cafeteria staff, Tipton High School, Randy Hart, custodian, Tipton Elementary School, Grace Clifford, kindergarten instructional assistant, Tipton Elementary School. Recommendation, Linda Sprinkles, ECA treasurer, Tipton Elementary and Middle School, Kenny Day, temporary bus driver, Scotland Moore, third shift custodian, Tipton High School, Nathan Giger, special education para-educator, Elementary School, Beth Soria, education, special education para-educator, Tipton Elementary School as well. Jaylena Heron, Title I pre-educator, Tipton Elementary School. Brooklyn Shelton, special education pre-educator at Tipton Elementary School. And ECA staff, Aubrey Nerzingling, JV volleyball coach, Tipton High School. Grant Shively, volunteer football coach, Tipton High School. Rogan Brown, volunteer football coach, Tipton High School. Shad Durham, 7th and 8th grade football assistant coach. Michael Vittorio, department head for industrial technology, Tipton High School. And 2 resignations, Scott Johnson, assistant football coach, Tipton Middle School. Also, Scott Johnson, 6th grade boys basketball coach, Tipton Middle School. And our donation this month I want to recognize is Tipton Community School teachers participated in their summer academy, and we had some donations from local businesses and individuals, and I want to recognize those. And thank you to Ace Hardware, Boys and Girls Club of Tipton, Encompass Credit Union, Dan Young of Tipton, First Farmers Bank and Trust, Indiana University Kokomo, Jason Fields, Director of Tipton County Public Library, NHH Services, Phil Overdorf Farms Incorporated, Pfeiffer Insurance Agency, Pizza King Cardini's Incorporated, Quigley Law Office, Subway Incorporated, Wyman Group of Kokomo and Tipton, Tipton County Family Resource Center, Firefly, Tipton Sons of Kiwanis, Tipton Trinity Wesleyan Church, Titus Bakery and Deli at Reynolds, The Barn at Homestead Farms, Ivy Tech, and West Street Christian Church. Thank you to all those donations from those people. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. So, Dr. Glaze.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I just wanted to take the opportunity to
to introduce Laura Fulton, who is our new administrative assistant. She's back there. And so Laura will be taking on full responsibilities next month, and she's in the office and doing a great job, and we're very fortunate to have her. So thrilled to have her on board. Also, we've hired about 17 new instructional staff, kind of a varying number of experience, about varying number of years of experience rather. So we have some first year people and some veteran people. So I feel like that we have some great candidates. We've been very fortunate. We've been able to get those people in, and so we're looking forward to some really great advances for our students with this new staff. So again, we're just very excited about that opportunity. Building and grounds, I couldn't be more pleased with how our buildings are looking right now, even though we're under construction and there are just some areas that are looking a little scary. For the most part, our buildings are looking ready to get started, and they're looking very clean and prepared for school. So, again, this comes from the hard work of Dan Benefiel, Eric Johnson, Mark Weaver, Nita Everling, and our entire custodial staff. And we also had several student workers that came in and just did some projects for us. So everything's looking good. I feel like we're painted up and ready to roll. And once we get the parts of our building project done, I think it'll even look better. So exciting opportunities here at Tipton. Summer Academy, really an outstanding 2 days of training. I want to thank Mr. Jaworski for doing such an awesome job of organizing and planning for the Summer Academy. I believe we had around 80 teachers that were involved.
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers yet,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
We'll look into those. But yeah,
Okay.
we had well over 80 registered. As for the exact attendance, I'll have that soon.
And so we just felt really good. And the attendance continues to grow for this event. And again, I think that's just because of the really great offerings that Mr. Jaworski comes up with and the opportunities to make our teachers better. And again, they're taking their time to come in and do this, and we're just very appreciative of the fact that they do that. We do have our professional development day on Wednesday, and that is a full slate of fun and exciting new processes that we're working on. We are looking specifically at integrating technology a little bit more effectively into our lessons. So all of the teachers will be working with that, as well as taking our PLCs to the next level. One of the ways we know that we can get better is through professional learning communities, and we are investing a lot of time and a lot of sweat into the development of these professional learning communities. So again, that will be happening on Wednesday. We will have a short, abbreviated all district meeting first thing in the morning on Wednesday. I'm going to try to keep that under 30 minutes. So Scott has a hook that he's going to rip me off stage if I go over 30 minutes, so that we can get to a very filled day of professional development. I wanted to commend our bus drivers. They came in last week and were looked at routes, had some discussion, and just had some finalized route information, bus information. They've been spending the last week contacting parents to let them know what time students will be picked up, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. And so I do want to say that we have had changes to routes, and just encouraging people to be patient with us the first few days as we are getting students to school and home. And so again, a lot of change in that. But again, I want to thank the drivers and the support people for doing such a great job of making all of that work. I had the great privilege of going down and watching the marching band at State Fair on Friday afternoon. I thought they did a sensational job. I know they were shooting to make the night show and didn't make the night show this year. But again, I was really proud of the kids, and I felt like that their show was really strong, and I felt like their performance was strong, and I think they felt really good about it as well coming off the field. And as things are also moving fast with athletics. So girls golf is already at it and doing some competitions out there. So again, it's just really great, to see football back, see volleyball starting, and everybody coming back to school. And we just can't wait to see the kids when they come back on Thursday.
All right, thanks, sir. Next on the agenda is our department reports, and you guys had those in your packet since last week. Director of Student Achievement and Learning by Mr. Jaworski, Student Services and Transportation, Mr. Clark, Director of Food Services, Adam Prohl, Director of Technology, Stephen Gingrich. Had a chance to look those over. Did you have any questions on any of those? I had some questions for Stephen that got answered in the work session.
I think Scott's going to talk a little bit.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I want to speak a little bit more to the my last note in the my report to the board on the administrative retreat. So again, middle of July, Dr. Glaze kind of actually brought this idea to me. I think it was late first semester last year. We were looking at, well, what can we do to develop our leaders, our administration here at TCSC, and we're all about teaching our students, developing our teachers, but I think it's also really important that we develop the leaders that we have in place and really support them in kind of the work that needs to be done going forward long term. And so I want to talk just a little bit about what we accomplished in this retreat. It wasn't simply just we kind of snuck up to Michigan and had fun times. It was a lot of actual some hard work up there at a conference. And so it was the conference called the PLCs at Work conference, hosted by Solution Tree, which is actually they're located down in Bloomington, but they're a national organization that kind of built by leaders across the country as far as educational leaders and pioneers. And so the recurring theme of this retreat was, what's our purpose? Why are we here? We know our mission statement is working together for student success. I mean, every day I walk into my office, and anytime we come into this board meeting, we've got our vision statement there on the wall: growing empowered, future-ready students who are prepared for a lifetime of opportunity and success. That's our why. All right, as a district, this is what we are here to accomplish, and our mission is how we accomplish that. Right. So what does that look like here at TCSC? What is that? How are we embodying that day after day? And something I'd kind of refer to you to is Professor John Hattie. And I know Dr. Glaze is going to talk a little bit about this at our welcome back meeting at 8 o'clock Thursday morning. Professor John Hattie he completed a synthesis of over 800 meta-analyses related to student achievement. They're particularly educational practices that have proven to be more effective at improving student achievement over other types of practices. Those that I really want to emphasize to you is 1, teacher clarity; 2, success criteria; 3, providing formative evaluation; 4, response to intervention; and then 5, collective teacher efficacy. These particular practices make up the work of what a true professional learning community does, right? What the actual work is in a professional learning community. And it's something that we've begun working here at TCSC. Ask any teacher about teacher clarity, what it is that we expect our students to learn, and they will roll their eyes and say scope and sequence. But with that, it is so important. It's why we did that work. It's why we set that up, is that teacher clarity is one of the number one and easiest things that we can do to impact and improve student achievement. And again, with this, operating as a PLC is really how we are going to increase student learning for all, not just for students, I should say, but also for adults. In a professional learning community, it's not just about increasing student achievement. It's also about developing the people that you work with and learning from experiences you've had, both positive and negative. And again, these are the types of things that we learned from this conference. This is the work that our district is building on. It's built on 3 pillars: focus on learning for all, collaborative culture that shares a collective responsibility for student success, and a growth mindset that's evidence-based, data-driven, and results-oriented. That work is what's going to drive our leadership team. It's what we spent 3 days in Grand Rapids working on, developing together, learning together. It's a way for us to identify what it is we need students to learn, establish the process for collecting evidence of what's being learned, and then again analyzing and responding to the evidence of that. So again, it's not enough to simply change structures like schedules or room assignments that we've had this year. To be a truly effective PLC, we need to change the culture and mindset of our students, our staff, and our community as a whole. We all must own a collective responsibility for students to learn. It's not an individual teacher's responsibility for students to learn. It is all of us, every single person in our school community. And that's something we're trying to develop. That's the kind of mindset, the kind of behaviors we have to commit to in order to ensure that high-level learning for all. Again, our administrative team spent 3 days learning together, working together, growing together on those 3 pillars. And that's what's necessary in order to kind of have that, create that paradigm shift. So again, it brought us closer together. I feel very confident this year, going in this year, that as a leadership team, we are in sync. We understand exactly what the work that needs to be done, the pathway going forward, and that's something that's going to be kind of laid out for our staff as the year goes on. Again, it started with that scope and sequence, establishing what we want our kids to learn. This year is going to be a huge focus on assessment, focus on how do we know that students are achieving what we expect them to achieve. And again, there's going to be a lot of support for our staff, a lot of support for our leadership to accomplish those goals and help us attain ultimately what our district goals are, from academics, branding perspective, and our construction projects as well.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Ford? All right, next item on the agenda is our 2021 certified teacher ratings and the 2022-23 appraisal model, and Dr. Glaze has that to go over.
Annually, Indiana Code requires that we go through the evaluation process in an open board meeting, and also review the standings as far as the year-end summative evaluation ratings. So that's what this presentation is about. We will also ask for you to approve the tag grant language, which is a little bit later in this board meeting. And again, it's part of that same Indiana code that we have to review the evaluation process before any teacher is reviewed or any teacher is evaluated. And then we have to approve the tag grant every single year. So this is the certified evaluation data, just to kind of give you some past history. This was from 2019, 2020. The percentage of teachers that were rated highly effective, effective, improvement necessary, and ineffective. And then this would be for the 2020-2021 school year, 58% rated highly effective, 38% rated effective, 4% improvement necessary. And then for this year, we have 40% rated highly effective, 58% rated effective, and around 1% improvement necessary, 1% rated ineffective. Again, this talks about the Indiana code and how we have to discuss the appraisal system annually before any teacher is evaluated. Also, administrators will review this in individual buildings just to make sure that everybody's on the same page as far as the evaluation process. There are no changes in the process. We typically would discuss any types of changes. Everything is staying the same for this next year. Basically how the plan works, that we include rigorous measures of effectiveness, including observations. One of the big changes that we had last year was instead of a planned observation and an unplanned observation, they're both unplanned this time. So again, being able to go in and doing that long observation is beneficial. And again, walkthroughs, our administrators go through and do walkthroughs with each of the teachers. Try to do one at least once a month. Again, it's a very valuable process and also is what we use to really create a good solid summative evaluation. There are no changes again for 2023, 2022, 2023. Do you have any questions regarding any of that information? And that was very quick, so yeah. It's been a few days since I looked at this slideshow. Okay, all right. We have no questions?
I guess, was that different? Was the process that was used last year different than it had been?
Yes, yes.
And were you pleased with information that was gleaned through that process?
Yes, I feel like it's a more rigorous evaluation process. And the great thing about it is that, you know, working with our TEA friends, they were fully in support of all of these changes. And so it was really nice to be able to work collaboratively to make all of that work. So I really feel like it made a big difference. I think that I think the walkthroughs, I think there's a lot more evidence that you can gain from a walkthrough, and being able to make those a little bit more robust, I think has made a big difference. So.
Okay, anybody have any more questions for Dr. Glaze? All right. Moving along, we don't have any old business to contend with tonight. We're moving to new business, and first item is consideration to approve the readoption of policy 3220.01 regarding teacher appreciation grants. Each school corporation must readopt policy regarding distribution of teacher appreciation grants. This policy is unchanged from last year. It's recommended the board adopt policy 3220.01 as written. Need a motion in a second to do that. Motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Next is consideration to approve Tipton Community School Corporation Certified Personnel Appraisal Plan. Dr. Glaze just went through that. Indiana Code 20-28-11.5-4 requires school corporations to develop a plan for annual performance evaluations for each certified employee. The evaluation committee met, revised our appraisal plan and changes presented earlier in this meeting. It is recommended the Board of Trustees approve Tipton Community School Corporation Certified Personnel Appraisal Plan as written. Need a motion and a second.
Move to consider the approval of our corporation certified personnel appraisal.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, consideration to increase the hourly rate for Tipton Community School Corporation Deputy Treasurer. Deputy Treasurer position is a vital part of Tipton Community School Corporation Central Office staff. The deputy position manages all payroll and benefits for the 240 people Tipton Community Schools employs. In order to align our deputy treasurer hourly pay with surrounding districts, a $3 per hour increase is recommended. Any discussion, questions on that?
If that's something that's new, actually, yeah. I don't anticipate that will happen often. Yes, exactly. I think, we just want to give her a little bit of that flexibility. So she feels like that if she's not here, and she has a big job with payroll and everything else. She just worries about taking off for a sick day or something to that effect. So giving her a little bit of flexibility in that situation.
Any other questions or comment? Motion and a second to approve that.
I move to increase the hourly rate for the deputy treasurer.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next item is permission to allow the superintendent to write a letter of purchase. In order to lock in pricing for the 2023 bus replacement, the superintendent needs permission to write a letter of purchase to Curlin Bus Sales for the purchase of 2 78-passenger buses, 1 yellow multi-purpose bus with wheelchair lift, and 1 activity bus. The letter of purchase will service as an agreement to purchase until the 2023 bus replacement plan is approved. It is for 2 81 size 28 size 78 passenger C2 buses at $247,478, 1 14-passenger yellow multi-purpose bus with wheelchair lift for $19,679, 1 14-passenger activity bus for $88,383 for a total of $427,540. Any discussion?
You reverse the numbers, which is a total thing that I would do.
A lot of numbers.
Well, yeah, the 19 over the 91, I think that would be a take.
Okay, any discussion, questions, comments?
This is something we do normally anyway, it's just asking to do it earlier, so you're locking in the price.
Yeah, because they're in a week, it's gonna go back up.
Okay,
So it's
I just wanted to
a
clarify that for anybody
moving-
who was wondering.
moving target.
Right, yeah, no, all of this stuff is right now.
I need a motion in a second.
Move to give permission, the superintendent to write a letter of purchase.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda is other matters to come before the board. Did anyone have anything to discuss tonight?
Just like to add to Dr. Blaze what he said earlier. I'm very grateful that our transportation people came together to work on these routes. We've been talking about this for a couple of years. After a week or so, could you just kind of let us know how the routes are going?
Oh,
We're,
absolutely.
I know that we wanted to try to keep every route within an hour on the bus. Just kind of how that's going.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We anticipate that that's still going to be the case, the first week or two. Yeah. May or may not work out that way. So, yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. We're always looking to monitor the routes and change as needed. I mean, and, you know, sometimes, you know, you'll get a situation where kids will no longer ride or something like that. So yeah, we're always gonna take a look at that and modify as needed.
Like what we're doing with buses going home, are they all coming back to the,
They're all coming back. Yeah, yeah. And, you know, we will continue to monitor that and look at it. Um,
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Some advisory committees coming up. August 15th is facilities technology. I did that during the work session before, but September the 19th personnel, October the 18th student achievement. Some events coming up is TMS Rocks is going on right now tonight. Tomorrow is Teacher Work Day. August the 10th is Professional Development Day. August the 11th is Students' First Day, and the next board meeting is September the 13th, and we'll have a special meeting on the budget on September the 27th. With that, we are done with our agenda for tonight, and now we entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn tonight's meeting.
second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
PR committee, I'm gonna send out an